It's the biggest political story in the country right now, but not for the reasons you are being told. Tonight, why a Texas abortion bill could have wide-ranging effects on your everyday life, no matter where in America you live. Good evening, I'm Leland Vittert. Regardless of how you feel about abortion, whether you think it's good or bad, you need to know what's happening in Texas right now, because it is totally different than anywhere else in the country. A new law there allows private citizens, any private citizen, to sue abortion providers for performing the procedure and extract huge civil judgments. This goes around the typical government protections for abortion providers. Listening to our liberal commentators today, you would think we are heading to a very dark place.
We've been accused, those of us who have been saying that Roe is about to be overturned, as being Chicken Little, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. We'll see, because it certainly looks like the sky is falling now.
Like, maybe I'm misunderstanding it. This actually lets private citizens who have zero connection to the person getting an abortion take legal action? How does this even work? Why?
Never mind when it comes to my body and the medical decisions that I make with the advice of my doctor. Now, that choice is totally fair game, apparently, to be taken out of my hands and dictated now by a bunch of politicians. That is hypocrisy.
I think the silence is deafening, because for every minute that this law is on the books, and it is as of midnight tonight, last night, today, constitutional rights are being violated.
Yeah. All right, tonight, we are not going to spend a lot of time talking about how this relates to abortion, but it's how it relates to one of the most creative laws ever enacted, and how it would be weaponized potentially to attack personal freedoms across the country. We have this covered from all sides. The ACLU is fighting this law. They're going to be here with us in a minute. We're going to cover the countless political footballs that we can count on both parties taking advantage of. But we first should start with Josh Blackman. He teaches constitutional law at the University of Texas. Josh, appreciate you being here with us. He's also the author of an introduction to constitutional law, 100 Supreme Court cases everybody should know. All right. So, Josh, this isn't so much overturning Roe v. Wade, but having a chilling effect on abortions in Texas. How?
This law is very creative and unique. Usually when the government has an abortion law, the Attorney General enforces it. But this law does not allow the government to enforce it. Instead, private citizens can file lawsuits against abortion clinics, abortion providers, and those who fund abortion, such as insurance companies. And they're able to bring these suits in state court against as many providers as they wish. So this is an entirely novel and creative way of trying to restrict access to abortion.
All right, so the clinics have said the law would rule out 85% of abortions in Texas and may force many clinics to close. And it seems as though as this law has taken effect, there's a lot of abortion clinics that say, we just don't even want the potential for liability here, so we're not going to challenge this or continue to perform abortions, right?
Right. To be clear, the law sets the mark at 6 weeks, but the law also allows people to say Roe v. Wade is good law and we can rely on it. The court hasn't overruled Roe yet. It may happen later this year, but they haven't done so at this point. So it's not exactly true that all these abortions are prohibited, but I think the clinics have made a valid judgment that they're afraid of liability. There might be liability later if these court decisions are overruled, and they'll basically be put out of business. So for now, they've shut down, hoping that some court, any court, bails them out.
You know, there's a lot of Republicans that I'm reading on Twitter who are sort of patting themselves on the back over this one. Texas, obviously a red state. Could blue states turn this same logic around and say, use it in Illinois to go after gun stores, or in California to go after restaurants that don't enforce mask mandates?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. Yeah, this goes down quite far. Imagine California enacts a law that lets private citizens sue gun stores for whatever violations of the law. That law cannot be stopped in court. Every gun store will be subject to 1,000 lawsuits. So this is a bottomless pit that we sort of start going down. But at least for now, I think it's had its intended effect and has chilled abortion providers within the state of Texas.
Now, one of our producers, Andrew Roberts, found this headline: Roe v. Wade will functionally cease to exist in Texas. Subtitle: it's as if Texas is saying we're not violating due process. We're just offering $10,000 to Batman for any jokers who end up in jail, no questions asked. So states could use this to outlaw anything they want if they enable private citizens to be essentially Batman, right?
No, it's not Batman. It's not Robin. It's not Superman. I think this is more a case that certain types of abortions can be regulated, and those are the ones that are being regulated. Again, the law says that you can raise as a defense that you have a constitutional right to abortion under Roe. So even with the current law, people could still defend it, but the problem is they don't want to defend it. They want to keep doing it as they're doing. So it really, what this law does is it pushes pressure. Usually abortion clinics are on offense. This law forces the clinics to go in defense, and they don't want to play defense. It's a very risky game. A
risky game, especially when $10,000 and up. So the minimum judgment's $10,000. Josh, really appreciate the conversation. Thank you. Great way of explaining it and breaking it down. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Drusilla Teigen works with the ACLU. They're in Texas, and they are fighting this law right now. Drusilla, good to see you. Is this checkmate?
No, I don't think we're at checkmate. Certainly not. But this is a scary time to be an abortion advocate in Texas, and it's a scary time to need abortion care. We were hoping that the Supreme Court would uphold fundamental rights and stop this law from going into effect by midnight of last night, but that didn't happen.
Yeah.
We're still looking, and the court could act at any moment. But right now, abortion is all but banned in Texas.
The ACLU never minds when blue states enact, say, trans rights laws, et cetera. Red states are enacting abortion rights or abortion laws right now. Isn't this just the privilege of being in charge?
No, the Constitution is the law of the land, and we at the ACLU fight to uphold the constitutional rights of all people, no matter where they are, no matter what state they're in. And the people of Texas deserve their constitutional rights to be fought for and upheld just as much as anybody else in the rest of the country.
Fair enough to say that this is a pretty unique and creative way. So sort of from a professional legal sense, props to those who came up with this, because it's changing the conversation in the debate, right?
It's certainly creative if you think that it's, good and creative to go around our fundamental sense of government. But yeah, it's different.
Do you agree with Josh, though, that this can be turned on its head in California or in Illinois, and all of a sudden you've got private citizens suing gun stores?
Absolutely. The fundamental rights are protected by the Constitution. If we can get an end run around that by allowing private citizens to sue, this is going to open up the door to impact lots of different rights that state governments, for political reasons, may or may not agree with. So yeah, it absolutely opens up the door for this type of law in other places.
It'll be interesting to see if you start getting sort of the strict constitutionalists on the left and the right starting to agree with this for that reason of the Pandora's box. I'm interested, though, in terms of how you guys are going to fight this. It seems as though you're going to have an abortion provider provide an abortion and then get sued under it to challenge it, correct?
That is not what our lawsuit says. We have confidence that our lawsuit, currently we are suing state actors in the form of judges and clerks and many other state actors as far as regulatory agencies. And we think that, those people are tasked with enforcing this law. And we are hoping to get a preliminary injunction before the law goes, well, the law is into effect, but
the Supreme Court so far hasn't been that impressed, though, right?
Well, we don't know what the Supreme Court thinks yet.
Okay.
We're still waiting to hear.
All right. Hey, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, it is no surprise that after an awful few weeks, the debacle in Afghanistan, the White House is really trying to change the conversation. And this is something, certainly is what we've seen over the past 12 hours on cable news as it relates to this law, that might change the conversation and really fire up the base. President Biden weighed in today. Here is the verbatim. He called the law this extreme Texas law that blatantly violates the constitutional right established under Roe v. Wade. With that, we bring in Axios congressional reporter Elena Treen. Elena, nice to see you as always. Thank you. I guess in a weird way, Dems are obviously very upset about this, but are they also sort of enjoying the ability to go on offense and change the conversation?
I think that's a hard thing I think it's a false equivalence, to be honest. I think it's hard to say that they're happy the conversation has changed over this. I think Democrats by and far are infuriated with this ruling today in Texas and are really trying to put out the stops to see how they can find a way around it and how lawyers like the ACLU can find a way to strike this down. And I think at the same time, I mean, Afghanistan is not going away. It's going to continue, obviously, to be an issue, particularly as we're trying to continue to get Americans and Afghan allies out. And so both things are happening at the same time. Both things are issues that Democrats are very much concerned about.
Yeah, you've done some great reporting in terms of just how concerned Democrats are about Afghanistan, how the president is kind of on an island here. This does give him, though, an opportunity to rally everyone under the big Democratic tent to be against the Texas law, right?
I think we'll have to see how this happens. I mean, we did see Jen Psaki today say during her press briefing that, the administration is definitely behind asking Congress to codify Roe v. Wade. President Biden not mincing words when he said that he thinks that the Texas law undermines the Constitution and people's constitutional rights. And very much I do think that they're going to try and get the party to rally around this. But again, I think that the issue of Afghanistan and this issue are two very separate things. Yes, there can be maybe the messaging and the airwaves, like we are talking about this now on television.
Right.
And
we're not talking about Afghanistan. Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, Afghanistan, it's going to continue to dominate the news for weeks to come. And so I think if Democrats are looking for this as a nice escape, it's not going to be one.
Part of your reporting about Democrats who have split with the president, moderate Democrats over Afghanistan, especially those with national security backgrounds, have really been so critical of him about Afghanistan. Is there any plan that you've heard of from the White House to try to bring them around and get Democrats to defend the president on Afghanistan?
Certainly. I think one of the big talking points that we're going to be hearing, we're already starting to hear from Republicans, but we're going to continue to hear over the next several weeks, is trying to paint Democrats as thinking of the Taliban as an ally. And that's something that very much the administration wants to make clear that they do not believe. Yes, they had to negotiate with the Taliban to get Americans and Afghan allies out of the country before the withdrawal date. But again, President Trump also negotiated with the Taliban when he initially made the May 1st deadline to withdraw. And they're going to continue to remind people of this and continue to say, look, we had to work with the Taliban. That doesn't mean that we don't think that they might be a malign actor. We have to wait and see how they act moving forward. And so that's going to be a huge focus of the administration, as well as I think, continuing to point to the number of people in the lead up to the withdrawal who had wanted to get Americans out of Afghanistan. That's a huge thing that they do have on their side that they're going to continue to look to polls and whatnot as they continue to try to defend their actions here.
Well, Elena, we appreciate you working the last week of summer and being with us. And as things heat up past Labor Day and some of the debates you're talking about take place, we're going to have you back, all right?
Thank you so much, Leland. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Great conversation. Well, folks in Louisiana are literally screaming for federal help. This is going to be a big deal going into the fall after Hurricane Ida ravaged that state on Sunday. They're demanding access to food and clean drinking water, just basic things. And now, midway through the week, the president says he's going to visit the state, but not until Friday. News Nation correspondent Brian Enton joining us live from New Orleans, where folks are lining up for gas. Brian, I'm looking over your shoulder. That line seems to go on forever.
Yeah, this gas station's supposed to close in 30 minutes, and the line is just not letting up. Take a look, Leland. It goes pretty much as far as I can see. They keep trying to shut the gas station down, but people sort of get upset. There's a little uprising, and then they decide to stay open for another half an hour or so. Let me show you. You've got all the cars lined up, but then you've also got people who are literally just like showing up here with gas tanks, water bottles, laundry detergent bottles, anything they can get their hands on to fill up with gas. You see this group here, they've got a bunch of gas tanks that they're filling up. Most people tell us that they're filling up to go back and put it in their generators. Still almost 1 million people in New Orleans without power. So many people frustrated. They feel like they're not getting the help they need right now. This is what a few of them told us. Where's the help? I don't see anybody around here.
Your answer is question as good as mine. When you find some hope, you let us know, because we're going to be standing here.
Just came from the other gas station down there on the Elysian Field, and they told us no gas, and we had to wait in line for like an hour.
So can you imagine you wait in line for 5-6 hours for gas, you get to the front of the line, and then you're told, sorry, we just ran out.
Yeah, I've done that a few times in hurricane zones, doing exactly what you're doing, so you can understand and imagine the frustration. I guess, Brian, the question would be, we knew this hurricane was coming. It was coming to the place that Hurricane Katrina came 16 years ago. Did these people not get out? Did the federal government not pre-position enough resources? Where is the breakdown here?
I think the main issue is the electricity and the water, Leland. You know, New Orleans didn't suffer that much damage. There's not that much structural damage to buildings. The flood walls held. There was no real flooding in the city. The main issue is you've got the entire city, for the most part, still without power. That impacts most of the gas stations, the ones that don't have generators. And if they could just get the power back going again, that would make a big difference. The latest estimates are it could be a month in some parts of the city before they restore power.
Yeah, pretty stunning when you look at the pictures and then you realize it could be a month living like that, essentially camping, especially when you don't have access to clean water. Brian, our best to you and your crew. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, Leland.
When we come back, an exclusive interview with an American still stranded in Afghanistan. What are the options to rescue her when we come back? These are the stories that we knew we were going to have to tell you and are heartbreaking to talk about. Of course, we're talking about the untold number of Americans who are now stuck in Afghanistan. American citizens who were left behind in Afghanistan, now desperately trying to get out of that country. And obviously their relatives here in the United States are trying their very best to save their loved ones from the Taliban. News Nation's Joe Khalil live with us tonight from Washington, D.C. on one daughter's attempt to get her mother out. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Leland. Yeah, I mean, this woman's family, she has children, she has grandchildren here in the United States. They are desperately trying all channels they can to try to get their mother out of Kabul right now. She is stuck. She has been stuck there. We're not going to reveal this woman or this family's identity, but we can tell you that she's a 62-year-old woman, lives in this region here. And you know, she went to Afghanistan at the beginning of August, not thinking that the situation was going to deteriorate as fast as it did. But once Kabul fell, she did try 8 different times, she tells us, to get to the airport. She never was able to actually make it through the gates. Again, a 62-year-old woman trying to fight through a lot of these crowds. At one point, she had an experience when the crowd sort of stampeded. She felt like she might lose her life. Here's how she described it in her own words.
My brother was threatened at gunpoint by a guy holding a weapon to his head. The situation was really bad. All around us was intense gunfire. They fired just right before our feet. Lots of people got wounded.
Do you feel the U.S. government abandoned you?
They did not help us. We went to the location where we were told to be, but when we showed up there was nobody. You know, I got here as a guest, and now I want to go back. This is an unexpected situation that we are faced with. Yes, I'm really worried, and I'm not feeling well. There are no other options. I have to leave, but I got stranded here.
And Leland, one daughter of that woman told us flat out she feels the government has failed her family. And now that the military is gone, they're not sure how their mother is going to get out. We did get a response from the White House. They essentially said that they're bumping this up to their task force. And then we also got, quite frankly, a generic response from the State Department that didn't address this specifically, but just said that they are still trying to get all American citizens out of Afghanistan, that they're not giving up on that effort. But this family really worried right now about their mother.
All right. Joe, thanks so much. We'll wait for you coming up on Prime with more of this story in about 40 minutes from now. Joe, thank you. All right. So what are the options to get these Americans who were left behind out? Joining us now, Dave Sears, retired Navy SEAL, author of Smarter, Not Harder, 17 SEAL Maxims to Elevate Critical Thinking and Prosper in Business and Life, along with Army Major General Vincent Bowles, 2-star, retired in 2009. His last Army assignment in the Pentagon was to oversee logistics operations and readiness for the 1.1 million soldiers who went into both Iraq and Afghanistan. Gentlemen, appreciate you both being with us. Dave, first to you. All right, is there any hope militarily or do we have any assets still in Afghanistan to help get this woman out? Somebody like her?
Right now, I don't think there's much hope militarily. I think that there's a capability militarily, but there's no will to use the military capability. So it takes political will to use that. Certainly, we could begin to get these people out, but the political will is not there to use the military element of national power, in my estimation.
General, you spent so much time at the Pentagon, and I'm interested in sort of your assessment of how our sort of nation's top defense officials, the secretary and the chairman who briefed today, what they're saying between the lines. We'll play you the sound bites and then you can interpret them for us. Take a listen.
I will always be proud of the part that we played in this war. But we shouldn't expect Afghan war veterans to agree any more than any other group of Americans.
I'm a professional soldier. I'm going to contain my pain and anger and continue to execute my mission.
Feels like there's so much more that General Milley wants to say that he's holding back. Fair assessment?
I would say that is fair. Both he and Secretary Austin commanded troops, served in there, walked those hills, and did that kind of work. To see how this has unfolded so quickly has to hit them in the heart.
Yeah, you did hear the emotion with them. A big part of this, Dave, is this issue of what to do with the Taliban now and all the weapons they have. We've been talking about this now for the past couple of weeks. We heard from the Pentagon a couple of days ago, oh, don't worry, they won't be able to fly the aircraft. They won't be able to figure out how to use anything. And then we saw this video, not in Kabul, but a little bit farther out. That is a U.S. Black Hawk helicopter flying overhead of a convoy of U.S. MRAPs and Humvees, all of which have the Taliban flag on them. It seems as though they managed to figure things out pretty quickly.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think specifically what they were addressing that was the equipment and material at Kabul airport. They didn't even touch or address. So what's the denominator when they tell you 27 Humvees were destroyed or demilitarized? Well, they don't tell you the denominator is 22,000 that are in the country. So there's a lot of this equipment that's out there and will be used and is dangerous. And they're trying to tamp it down and say it's inconsequential. Well, it's not inconsequential. This matters.
It seems, though, General, it's going to make it awfully difficult with the Taliban having all of these weapons and all of this equipment to launch any of the kind of rescue operations that Dave said were possible.
It is going to make it more challenging. And especially in the near term, until they start to sort out, they have to prove they can govern. They have to prove they can sustain these systems. And the one thing these people know is violence. And that's their go-to mechanism, what they'll do and how they'll deal with things. This gives them an additional capability for that.
Dave, a big part of your mission, obviously, as a SEAL, is direct action. But a big part of the time that you were in Afghanistan, I know you spent time with the local Afghans, meeting with village elders, trying to take on the Taliban, et cetera. Do you feel as though the Pentagon and, for that matter, the White House have a clear head about who the Taliban is that you knew and fought against?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think they have a clear head about who the Afghanis are, what the culture is in Afghanistan. And that's not just coming from me. You can go look at the Special Inspector General report that John Sopko just put out in August again, and it details how badly over 20 years we have messed this up, how much they have misunderstood the Afghan people, the Taliban, the enemy, the culture, the terrain, everything. It's been a debacle from the beginning. They have been fighting a Western war against something that they don't understand.
General, what would it take, you think, for us to hear from either Lloyd Austin or from General Milley, who we understand perhaps did not give the advice to the president that he took or that he eventually decided on, didn't advise the course of action? What would it take for them, you think, to speak out at some point, or will they just never do it?
It would take an awful lot for them to speak out. I think what it would take is if they really thought that they were being completely disregarded. It's one thing to be disregarded. It's another thing you get the chance to go in, put your point across to your boss, room to room, face to face, and then the boss say, well, I'm the boss and here's what we're going to do. But if they were completely disregarded, not considered at all, I think that would be a tipping point.
I wanted to pick up something with you, Dave, that the general said. He said, we shouldn't expect Afghan war veterans to agree any more than any other group of Americans. I'm wondering, he's sort of leaving this idea open that there's going to be lots of different opinions among vets. But so far, the only opinion I've really heard among vets is the one that you've espoused. Have you seen any dissension in the ranks among your folks and friends on how they feel?
No, I haven't, especially amongst the ground troops. I mean, I do think, no offense to the Major General, but we've seen this throughout. We have a leadership crisis. The generals tend to rally around each other. They sit on board positions and they get this ring that they're in, this protective ring, and they tend not to criticize. So you won't hear much criticism from there, but from the ground troops, it's been unanimous. I'll tell you that.
Gentlemen, really appreciate your time. Dave Sears, Army Major General Vincent Bowles, who have both walked and talked with us through the past couple of weeks and given us some fantastic perspective. Appreciate it, gentlemen.
All the best. Take care, sir.
All right. To you as well.
Thanks,
Up next, new warning from the CDC ahead of the Labor Day travel. Does this foreshadow new vaccine passport requirements when we come back? COVID's continuing to rage with the Delta variant. Perhaps one group who might be seeing a little green in all of this is lawyers. First to hear in Chicago, where a judge is now reversing his decision to block an unvaccinated mother from seeing her 11-year-old son during a divorce dispute. Previously, the judge stripped her of visitation rights until she got vaccinated. Now we understand she can see her son once again. Next to Texas, backlash is growing over a highly controversial mask mandate. The school district in Austin is enforcing a new policy, which includes moving kids who refuse to wear a mask to a separate location for learning. Now, a parents group has raised more than $33,000 in crowdfunding to fight that mandate, which may include a lawsuit. More money for the lawyers. They say kids' and parents' rights need to be protected. And the showdown over vaccine mandates is now spilling over into America's pastime. The Major League Baseball Network reportedly banned two of its star analysts from being on set after they refused to get the vaccine. Hall of Famer John Schmaltz and former Met, Yankee, and former Yankee Al Letter can only now appear remotely due to their vaccine status. That brings us to New York City, where a group of restaurant owners are suing Mayor Bill de Blasio over his latest mandate that requires businesses to verify all customers and workers are vaccinated, especially about restaurants and bars. Now, we are not making this up, but as the New York law reads, those tasked with enforcing the vax mandate do not have to be vaccinated themselves. Tyler Hollinger is one of the New York City business owners pushing back on all this. He runs the Festival Cafe, joins us now. All right, so Tyler, has any of these unvaccinated vaccine enforcers come to visit you?
Leland, thanks so much for having me on the show. None of these vaccination enforcers have come to visit us, yes, but we are fully expecting them to come in the next couple of weeks.
All right, so how did you find out that the vaccine enforcers don't have to be vaccinated?
Yeah, so here's the thing. Apparently, the vaccine enforcers don't have to be vaccinated. All they have to do is just prove a negative test, which is crazy when you think about the hypocrisy in this situation. These individuals are going to go around New York City trying to hustle up money for the mayor, fining businesses for not having vaccination requirements when they don't have to be vaccinated themselves. This hypocrisy is almost clownish.
Now, as we understand it, they don't have to be vaccinated because they're city workers, and the city has a test-out option, correct? Is there a test-out option for customers who want to come to your bar?
No, there is absolutely not. Guys, we're talking about bars and restaurants getting fined $5,000 a day for non-compliance. This is clearly not about getting people vaccinated. It's clearly about generating money for the city.
Well, the mayor says that his ban is life-saving. You don't think it is?
No, let's be clear about one thing. If the mayor really wanted to save lives, if he really wanted to get everyone vaccinated, you would need a vaccination to get on the subway. But he's not willing to do that.
That's interesting, which begs the question, if he was willing to do that, would you be for it?
I mean, I'm pro-vaccine.
Okay.
I think they are miracle drugs, but vaccination is a personal choice.
Okay, so you would not be for a subway vaccination passport, but you're just saying if he was serious about it, that's how he would do it. Okay, why don't you think
Because let's put things in perspective here.
Okay. If you're going to go, you're now suing, you're part of this group that's suing against the vaccine passport. Does the hypocrisy defense, is that part of your lawsuit or not?
Look, I've spoken to many lawyers about this, and what they can say is that finally, once these courts actually start opening again, all of this is going to get bogged down into lawyers and legal fees and personal rights and the rights you have. It's going to be an endless court trial.
Well, I can imagine you're talking to a lot of lawyers. We have one on next who's not going to send us a bill, but I bet all of yours do. I can't imagine what this is costing you.
Let me tell you, lawyers don't work for free.
Yeah. But what are you going to do next about the vaccine passports? I guess you have to keep enforcing them. Have you been able to do that?
Yeah, so, what we've set up in the cafe really is just a voluntary self-screen situation, just like we did contact tracing back in the winter. It's the same thing again, just 6 months later. The state and the city coming up with these arbitrary rules completely out of nowhere, and then in 3 months, they sort of just fade away and everybody forgets about it again.
All right. Hey, Tyler, always great talking to you. You're a very, very good advocate for your position. Thanks for taking the time. If this was on a Thursday or Friday night, we'd be more appreciative. Wednesday night's not that busy, but thank you.
Anytime. Take care.
Hey, it's great to see you. All right, now on to what the sort of a questionable moment, shall we say, for the day. The CDC now says that unvaccinated Americans should not travel over Labor Day weekend, that even those vaccinated should weigh the risks of going somewhere. And get this, 2 senior FDA vaccine leaders are reportedly resigning amid their frustrations over how the Biden administration handled recommending vaccine booster shots. Bobbianchi, an attorney and former Morris County, New Jersey prosecutor, joins us. All right, Bob, we're going to sort of take this a little bit in reverse order, but start with where Tyler was. Is New York City being such hypocrites over this, of the vaccine checkers not having to be vaccinated? Does that help these restaurant owners in a fight?
It may help them, Leland, but like we've talked about many times before, the government is going to be able to have a system in place to help to protect the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. It doesn't have to be perfect. Is it a good look? Of course not, but that's not really a legal standard. But you can be assured that those lawyers will argue that these laws are arbitrary and capricious, and they're randomly set out, but I don't think they're going to really have a good case. I think the government's going to be able to do what it can and what it feels is best for the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens.
The CDC says that the unvaccinated Americans should not travel for Labor Day weekend. Do you see that as sort of a prelude to the unvaccinated can't travel for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I think that when you're dealing with a situation in which COVID is anticipated to spike during October and November, those who are unvaccinated are going to start to lose rights. And the courts have routinely upheld the right of the government to prevent people from going to places. And in fact, we've talked about this before, all the way back to 1905, in a case out of Massachusetts, the Supreme Court ruled that you can actually force vaccinations on people. That is not occurring here. You have the choice to travel or not. But if you decide to travel and they put a mandate in place, the courts pretty much have always upheld since 1905 with smallpox and with polio and with other diseases that this is a legitimate exercise of government authority, Leland.
I'm wondering how recently has any of this been challenged? You're talking about 1905 and polio, that was in the 40s and 50s. Has there been any kind of modern challenges to government's ability to force vaccine?
Yeah, they occurred often with regard to vaccines required for school children.
Okay.
That occurs all the time. So this is really settled law. It's not something that's unusual. The difference between COVID and all those other things like rubella and childhood diseases is that it's become politicized, Leland.
At what point does the government right stop? Can they actually, if we take this to the extreme, can they go house to house?
Well, that wouldn't be wise to do, but legally speaking, the answer is yeah, they can. Okay. They can force you to have a vaccine.
We had this to put up, and I think you basically answered the question. CBS News, can you be fired for refusing to get vaccinated against COVID? If the government can do all these things, I'm assuming your employer can do even more.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, Leland. This point is the one that interests me the most. Everybody now has kind of switched sides in the political spectrum Government regulation of private business is always a big boogeyman, if you will. And we've been trying to deregulate government regulation of businesses for a long time. Now, those who called for deregulation of businesses are not happy with regard to the mandates that these businesses have with regard to their employees, as well as the safety of their customers vis-a-vis giving the vaccine. And now they kind of flip to the other side and become kind of like ACLU libertarians with regard to this. But the fact of the matter is, I own a business as well. If you don't do that, look at the alternative. If an employee gets sick or a customer gets sick and you did not have a vaccine policy in place, that's where serious lawsuits can occur with regard to their malfeasance in protecting the public at large and their customers in particular.
So you think there's going to be cases coming up where businesses that don't have a vaccine mandate end up getting sued by employees who got the virus from an unvaccinated fellow employee?
So when we're evaluating a case in my office, we always ask the question, would you rather be on this side or the other side? It's kind of a catch-22 here, but I would prefer to be the lawyer arguing on the side of those that mandated vaccines en masse because they have been approved. They're pursuant to CDC guidelines. For those businesses that don't follow CDC guidelines and vaccines and things of that nature, I think they are exposed to a greater risk of a successful lawsuit.
Oh, fascinating. I know we are going to have you back when one of the airlines starts doing vaccine passports to get on a plane. Thanks, Bob.
You got it, Leland.
All right. Up next, the newest chapter in the Democratic divide pitting AOC against longtime Clinton and Obama friend Rahm Emanuel. What she's upset about when we come back. Florida man's been charged with trying to extort $25 million from Congressman Matt Gaetz in exchange for making sex trafficking allegations against him go away. The feds are investigating allegations of sex trafficking involving an underage girl against Matt Gaetz. Gaetz has denied any wrongdoing, but that didn't stop the media frenzy to pounce on the story for days, weeks, even months. Now we know that Stephen Alford is facing criminal charges, including wire fraud, for allegedly trying to extort money from the Florida congressman in exchange for getting a pardon from then Donald Trump. Alford, a twice convicted felon, now faces 25 years in prison if convicted. Moving on, there is another chapter in the Democrats' civil war between Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the squad on one side and President Biden representing establishment Democrats on the other. It all revolves around Rahm Emanuel, about as established Democrat as you get. He's best friends with the Clintons and the Obamas, was President Obama's chief of staff, mayor of Chicago, and is now President Biden's nominee to be ambassador to Japan. AOC, among other progressives, say no, writing this nomination is deeply shameful. As mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel helped cover up the murder of Laquan McDonald, a mere teenager, when he was shot 16 times in the back by a Chicago police officer. That the Biden administration seeks to reward Emanuel with ambassadorship as an embarrassment and betrayal of the values we seek to uphold both within our nation and around the world. Pablo Manriquez is the Capitol correspondent for Latino Rebels and joins us now. Pablo, good to see you as always. How much
Likewise,
political
Leland.
capital is this going to cost the Biden administration if they want to get Rahm Emanuel through the Senate?
A lot, a ton. I mean, I can't begin to overstate just how much political capital this is going to cost them, because at the end of the day, Rahm Emanuel is a has-been, right? He's a has-been in Washington. Nobody cares about Rahm Emanuel anymore. But when Rahm Emanuel was here, he had an axe to grind with progressives. Now, if you think back to like 2008, 2009, the early years, the first year of the Obama administration, 2009, Rahm Emanuel torpedoed immigration reform. And that left a bad taste in the mouths of people like Alexandria Ocasio, who comes from a district where over half of the residents speak Spanish. Now, I say ordinarily, if you would ask me this question a month ago, I'd be like, nah, Rahm Emanuel will be a shoo-in because he does have this backing from the Obama machine, from the Clinton machine. But what happened last month, Leland, was really interesting. Cori Bush, a freshman congresswoman from Missouri, from St. Louis, Missouri, from Ferguson, Missouri even, she decided that she was going to take this eviction moratorium extension personally. It was something that the Biden administration had let lapse. And she led a protest outside of the Capitol that galvanized the world's attention, and the Biden administration caved, and then extended the moratorium. Now, eventually, the Supreme Court struck down this extension that the Biden administration put on it, but the precedent is there for the squad to torpedo the White House agenda as Biden would like to have it set. Now, I just don't think that Rahm Emanuel has the political capital. Like I said, nobody really cares about Rahm Emanuel, and it's not just about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is torpedoing this nomination. It's Ilhan Omar, it's Ayanna Pressley, and it's Chuy Garcia, the guy, a Chicago congressman. The congressman from Rahm Emanuel's city is right up front with everybody else saying, hell no, So I think that I don't see this nomination.
Pablo, tour de force around what's happening with progressives and President Biden. These are President Biden's latest approval numbers, which he's now underwater, approve, disapprove, and we can see the axis cross there. Which is an important inflection point in going in the wrong direction, trending in the wrong direction. 45.8% approve, 49.2% disapprove. Does this mean progressives have President Biden over a barrel for just about everything?
Yeah, no, Biden right now, the President Biden's in bad shape. I think that this Afghanistan crisis is doing a number on his poll numbers. Now, I'm not 100% convinced that anybody's going to remember what happened in Afghanistan by the time the election rolls around next year. And that's all, with all due respect to the lives lost and with all due respect to the veterans who served over there.
No, there's a lot of people saying that. You make a great point. It seems as though that Republicans, certainly in 2022, if they get control of the House, are going to be investigating this. They're going to be calling witnesses. One thing that's going to come up is this phone call, the Reuters reporting, before Afghan collapse, Biden pressed Ghani, meaning the president of Afghanistan, to change the perception. Jen Psaki got asked about that today at the briefing. Take a listen.
Ghani, I just want to put a pin in that report. Was the president in any way pushing a false narrative in that call with the Afghan president?
I think it's pretty clear. Again, I'm not going to go into details of a private conversation.
That is perhaps a different take than Jen Psaki had back in 2019. President Trump had a private conversation, at least he thought it was. Here was Jen Psaki's tweet about that private conversation she doesn't like to talk about. It's not just the call transcript. The whistleblower complaint would likely have more details. We need both and not just the call. Are Democrats going to have a tough time keeping whatever President Biden and the Afghan president said private?
Yes, absolutely. Now, these are the kind of calls that, because they're so consequential to the day's events, right, they should at least do a readout. Like, at the very minimum, they need to do a readout. Like, because ultimately, it's just like the more suspicion that you can put into a call like that, by not being transparent, the worse off it is. And I think that the Trump administration, case in point, by not being transparent with some of the calls they had, they ended up having like a full impeachment trial and all these other
President
things.
Biden,
right?
President Trump was impeached over it. Pablo, I hate to do this. We got to run. It was great talking. All right.
Likewise, Leland.
See you soon.
Godspeed.
All
yes,
right.
sir.
We'll be right back. Much of the discussion around vaccine mandates revolves around how to enforce them. After all, you can buy a blank vaccination card online and fill them out. Evidently, that was Chloe Mosick's plan. She wanted to go to Hawaii but was unvaccinated. Not wanting to let the quarantine laws get in the way of her vacation, she created her own vaccination card, but misspelled Moderna. There it is. So Chloe got to extend her vacation free of charge as a guest of the state of Hawaii at the local jail. Hawaiian jail's maybe a little different experience. Prime's next.